And welcome once again to another episode of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald, and you can find me on Twitter at Bob McDonald. And joining me, of course, is my co-host, Matt Dudek.
Hey there, everybody.
And Matt, of course, you can find on Twitter at GrizzTalkOU, and you can follow the podcast on Twitter at HorizonRT and on Facebook at Horizon Roundtable. And Matt, this is the holiday tournaments are in full swing, and they have not been going well for the Horizon League at all.
This has just been a bad week, man. Whew. For almost everybody.
I mean, seriously, if you'd have told me this week that Cleveland State was going to be the only team that was that got out of this week unscathed, I'd tell you were crazy.
There's a reason the Horizon League is 22nd right now in the conference rankings.
Yeah, man, this is insane. And the worst part is even Wright State, who won two out of their three games in Florida, they ended up losing. They ended up losing Loudon Love, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I mean, the two big losers this week are UIC, which, let's face it, this has been going on for a while, and Detroit Mercy. Is there a win in their future?
I'm not sure right now. I try to keep up with them as the other local team, and it's bad. It's Antoine Davis just trying to do everything, which we saw last year, but it's even worse this year. And I get the impression that he knows, he's been on that verge, of NBA and everyone talking about him, and he's trying to do everything, and he's inefficient. I mean, he's getting points. He put up 30 something the other day, finally, but he did it on less than 50% shooting. He's trying to do everything. He turned the ball over 8 times. It was not a good day for him, but he's trying to do everything, and it's that team needs help. And I mean, I like watching them lose, don't get me wrong, but I mean, you can't have Antoine Davis taking 26 field goals. He shot the ball 26 times, but I mean, he only made 12 of those. He's 12 for 26 for 33 points, 8 assists, but I think it was 8 turnovers. That's not a good day. And if that's what that team's going to be, they're going to lose a lot of games.
Yeah, that's they are still looking for, and you're absolutely right, because unlike last year where he had some help in a Josh McFawley, who's the second option? He does, and then add on to that, he's spending so much time trying to not only take the shots, but make his own shots and try to run the offense, and that's too much. And he's got nobody to go to at this point, and that's why he's running into these problems.
He has no help down low either. I mean, he was their second leading rebounder with 4 boards. I mean, this team just chucks the three. You've got Isiani chucking threes. You've got Calipari chucking threes. There's nobody doing anything. Where is the offense other than ISO on Davis, ready, go?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and if you think about it for a second, if you are an opposing team right now, game planning for Detroit, you only have to worry about one guy. You can double and that's probably where all these turnovers are coming from Antoine, and these bad shots is that, who's he going to turn to? You can double and triple team the guy, and he's gonna, he's got nowhere to go.
No, you pretty much say let anybody else on that team beat you, and right now Brett Calipari isn't going to beat you. Willie Isiani is not going to beat you. So
Justin Miller clearly isn't going to beat you.
No, he even had a chance at his revenge game, and he didn't really do anything.
No, in fact, the revenge game didn't go as near as I could tell. The revenge game didn't exactly go very well because they lost by 19.
Yeah, they're not even close to. I thought they were going to be a middle of that pack. That we always talk about, that 2 to 8 logjam. Yeah, they're at 9 to 10 space right now, and that's not even close. They might be bottomed out at 10 right now.
I mean, this is, well, I don't know if they're going to. There might be a race to the bottom there. I don't know if you've noticed.
Oh, I've noticed.
Oh man, but yeah, I mean, the only team now, to be fair, they did win one game in Vegas. They did beat UC Irvine, but man, the rest of the games have just been so lopsided, and they've been so, and they've been, I mean, you could telegraph them though, because these teams are just game planning for just Antoine Davis, and it shows, because they're forcing him to they're forcing him into bad shots, they're forcing the turnovers on him, and there's nowhere else to turn to. I mean, to me again, it looks to me it's like that after effect of this APR ban, because they didn't really game plan, they didn't really take that into consideration, and it's probably hurt them a lot.
They're not getting enough practice. They probably didn't get some of the recruits they wanted. They're getting hit by this ban, and I know there's still a lot of NCAA stuff happening, but I'm guessing that's not getting turned over at this point. And even if it does, you know what? They're better off if it doesn't at this point. Just
I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, I legitimately don't think it's going to matter. And you got to feel for Antoine, because here's the guy. Think about this for a second. Imagine if Antoine Davis was on Oakland right now. What a different picture it would be. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, even think of him on that Houston team he was supposed to be in the first place. I mean, can you imagine Antoine Davis on a Houston team on that Houston squad right now? I mean, my God, he'd be just as hyped as everybody. He'd be just as hyped as he is right now. And yeah, he's already getting, he's still getting, the accolades, but it just seems like this whole situation with Detroit Mercy is just kind of weighing him down a lot. And you feel bad and I feel bad for him, because, he's got the game, and Rashad Phillips obviously believes he's got the game. If you've been on 2319 Sports on Rashad Phillips's YouTube channel, he came out with his annual list of his top mid-major players, and lo and behold, there Antoine Davis was sitting right at the top. So, but but again, you can't. We're in a situation where he has to do everything, and every team who plays him knows this, and that's the bigger problem.
I can't, if nothing changes, I can't wait to watch him play Oakland and watch, Trey Maddox and Kevin Kangu try to lock him down with like FedEx in his face too, and let anybody else beat him. That's what everybody's going to do right
now. Absolutely. I mean, it expected Detroit to do a lot better, but you expected Detroit to do a lot better, but the problem is that, he just doesn't have the help. It's just not there. You'd like to think it's going to get better as the season goes on, but it hasn't.
I mean, and what is it? It's BJ Maxwell that's out right now, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, that's right.
I can't imagine that even when he comes back, and everything I've heard, he'll be back for conference play. Like, is that really going to be the difference maker? I would almost think, hey, BJ, why don't you sit this year out? Take the red shirt since we're not doing anything, and let's regroup. Like,
I at this point in time, I would say, yeah, maybe you might want to do that. I mean, that seems to me that might be their best foot forward. I mean, this is turning more and more to being kind of a throwaway year for them, and that's a sad thing to say for them when you have a talent like Antoine Davis on that roster. I mean, that's I don't know what to say.
There's something to be said for the scouting reports out. Everybody knows if you play Detroit Mercy, you don't even have to watch film. You know what you need to do. And so when you get to the Horizon League, where the teams know each other even better in only a couple weeks, like everybody's really got to know. Right now, out in Green Bay, the other A. Davis, he's cleaning up as a freshman because no one's playing for him yet, which I think is, that's something I was talking about on Twitter today with someone from Green Bay was no one's game planning for him. He's kind of an unknown, and I think that's his advantage. Where when we get in league and you get the chance to game plan a little better for these guys, like I think that he's going to slow down a little bit. We're going to see a freshman there. But Detroit Mercy, they're A. Davis. Everybody knows. Anyone across the country knows what to expect.
Absolutely.
They're ready for him, and they're shutting it down.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought. I'm glad you did bring up Green Bay and Amari Davis, because they did. They did have themselves quite a bit of a hiccup there on Tuesday because Colgate pretty much owned them in Green Bay. I might add. I mean, But then they actually come back. They go out to Montana State, and they pretty much dominated that game. They won like 98-72. And best of all for them, Cam Hankerson's back.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have, so you have Cam Hankerson back finally. But yeah, the big thing, of course, was Amari Davis just shot the lights out. I mean, he was 13 for 18. He was 13 for 18 from the field. I mean, that is absolutely insane.
And he's rocking the mid-range game, which is something you don't see a ton of. And being an Oakland fan, we're taught that the mid-range game is bad because why not just step back and three? But Davis, 13 of 18, almost 30 points on the night. That's a good day, all from mid-range essentially.
Yeah. Absolutely, and you look you look at and again you they're still missing Tank Hemphill, but it seems like they're getting a lot of productivity. They've gotten productivity from Amari Davis. They've definitely got it from Jaquan McLeod too, because he got 18 points against Montana State too. So I think their Green Bay situation isn't as foreboding as say a Detroit is, because Green Bay has it set up where they've always had multiple options. We saw it last year. We're seeing it again this year, and as good as they were against Montana State, hiccup against that inexplicable loss against Colgate aside, coming into the conference, I think once they have Tank Hemphill back, I think they're going to be considerably, They definitely have they definitely have the pieces to make a run at the time and definitely compete in the Horizon League.
I would agree. I mean, Green Bay shot 61% from the field the other night versus Montana State, which is I don't think they're going to do that every night, but I don't think they're somewhere in the middle between that and the Colgate game, I think. And we'll see when they get their pieces who they are, and that's kind of a lot of what we're talking about these days is like no one's separating themselves. We don't know who's who. We're starting to see some injuries and all that. Like what are we looking at? And at the end of the day, I don't think we're looking at anything great in the Horizon League, and that's scary, but that's just the reality.
Well, yeah, and we talk about the injuries. I mean, because we talk about the issue that Tank Hemphill is having. If you turn around and look at Wright State, Wright State is still arguably the front runner right now. But the issue is they have an issue with injuries, and they have an issue with injury that I'm sure that nobody wants to have with Loudon Love, because at the end of the LaSalle game, if I understand it correctly, Love hurt his elbow, and LaSalle ended up winning that game by 2 points. That's and I'm saying that it was probably that injury to Love that probably was the difference in that game, because Love probably gets makes up for that deficit and then some. So, but impressively they turned it around, and the next day they beat Miami of Ohio for the second time this season. Which I love about scheduling in the Horizon League sometimes. Where they have these tournaments they go to that may or may not involve teams you've already played before.
Well, not only were they able to beat a MAC school, which nobody else seems to be capable of right now, especially Oakland.
That's true.
With Love out, we saw the freshman Grant Basile. And you know what? He's a 6'9", 220-pound kid, like freshman, and he put up 17 points and 12 boards, and maybe that's in some ways a blessing in disguise for Wright State to find that who's going to give Loudon Love, a breather when he needs it. And if they can continue to play inside out the way that they're built, even with on the bench, that's a better team all of a sudden, even that more than we thought.
It really is. And that, that to have a guy come in like Grant Basile come in and step up and essentially kind of negate the Love injury, that's saying something. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised. Scott Nagy has done a hell of a job with recruiting and a hell of a job with coaching. that Wright State squad since he's been there. So we shouldn't be all that surprised that, he brings a guy in who can, step into to the very large shoes of Loudon Love and do some things. I mean, it showed the other day. And now, even better, when Love comes back, I mean, you got a 1-2 punch of him, Basile and Love. Because, I mean, if you're a Horizon team, do you want to deal with that? I don't.
I mean, the team I root for, we all know one of our strengths is front court depth, and I still don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I mean, right, to me, and so to me, I think this is probably a blessing in disguise. I mean, we obviously hope Loudon Love gets better soon.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure if you're a Wright State fan, you're holding candlelight vigils right now, as we all would if we lost a guy of that caliber in any Horizon League school. But man, they're gonna be all right.
Do you think they had to undo his cornrows for his MRI or something? This injury might be cornrow related. Things were just tight in the body. I don't know. Something was going on there. It's got to be it.
I don't know about that, but at least we know it wasn't aliens this time.
No, not aliens. They were not. It
was not. The aliens did not swoop down in the middle of the LaSalle game and kidnap Loudon Love. Good news for Wright State. I mean, I don't know what their the timeline is, but honestly, if you got Grant Basile, if he's playing the way he's playing and continues to play the way he's playing, give Loudon Love a couple of games to give some extended time to take some time off. I mean, that and I think also what helps Wright State. I mean, obviously Tuesday's game coming up against Western Kentucky is probably going to be one of those things one of those games where you kind of wish you had Loudon Love, obviously, but the rest of
we need that win.
Yeah, but by and large, the rest of their schedule is. You could probably get away with, having Loudon Love, having Grant Basile in for Loudon Love for an extended period of time, and you wouldn't miss a whole lot. But let's be honest. The way that Grant Basile played against Miami, I'm now very interested in seeing what he does up against Western Kentucky. Although that's going to be a really tough matchup there. Really tough.
I think if you're Wright State, you want to hopefully obviously get him healthy as fast as possible, but you can have him out up until the 21st, which is their game against Toledo, which is their last game before non-conference. Toledo, I just watched last night. They've got a lot of good front court depth anyway. So I think you get him in that game. I am so not looking forward to seeing Toledo this week because they're coming to the Full Seat Center. But I mean, if you can get Loudon Love back for that Toledo game to get him kind of tuned up, ready for Green Bay to start the conference, I think that's the best you could ask for. Yeah, and I think that would be more than enough. I mean, we also don't know what the extent of the injury is too, so that is going to be a big thing. And like you said, there's been something going. There's been that injury bug is hit in a couple of places for the Horizon League. I mean, let's be realistic. I mean, you have Love with the injury. Jalen Tate is still out. Tank Hemphill still out. Cleveland State's losing. Cleveland State still doesn't have Jalen Hill yet left. Still doesn't have Jalen Hill yet. UIC is one big injury bug. Apparently so, yeah, and it shows. I'm glad you brought up UIC. I know we're probably going to post this. We record on Sundays. We'll probably post this before their game at 6:00, but against Florida Atlantic. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a whole lot of hope there because their last few contests have been a disaster. The game Tuesday against Canisius was so bad. It was so awful. I don't know what's going on with UIC, but they're definitely hurting considerably. You can tell how much they miss. You could tell how much they miss Marcus Adi and Jordan Blount. It is so obvious for me.
And it's
not
so
only are
obvious,
they
and it's so obvious because, oh my God, yeah. I mean, I don't know, and I don't know what's going on with Godwin Bowen. I mean, he was arguably probably the third best backcourt guy they had, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn right now against Canisius. He was 1 for 13. I mean, this is insane. I mean, Targus Ferguson didn't exactly light the world on fire either. He didn't shoot. He was 0 for 5 on threes.
in 5 for 13? I mean, overall, when you've got your two backcourt guys going 6 for 26,
yeah,
that's a recipe to lose.
Absolutely.
But I mean, watching
and even worse, Ferguson coughed the ball up 7 times.
Watching them play, not only are they missing pieces, I feel the people that are there are not sold on this team. It looks like a team that's not playing for themselves even. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to lose, but to lose by 30 to Canisius, like, really?
Canisius. I mean, I'm not even sure what kind of team Canisius is this year, but I know last year they weren't all that great. I mean, yeah, this is, man, I don't know. I don't understand what is going on with UIC. It has not been a good start for their season, and we keep saying this. They have Steve McLean has got off on the wrong.
I mean, doesn't he pretty much have to win out in the horizon to keep his job?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, man. It's insane. I mean, that's kind of right there. I mean, because there seems like there's such a disconnect right now, and I want to say it's, you chalk it up to the injuries, but you don't. You just don't know. You really don't. And you get to a point, and you really get to a point where you have to ask yourself, well, where are they? Where are their heads at right now?
I don't get the impression that they're playing for their coach. You know what I mean? They're not playing for each other. Like, it's kind of a mess, and I think there's a lot of problems going on in the inner workings. You've got UIC fans starting to pipe up about how they're not donating until McLean's gone, and they want.
That is true. I mean, Chuck A., who's like the quintessential old school UIC fan, is piping up about this. And when you got him on your bad side, when you're on his bad side, man, there's something going down. I mean, at this point, you're just basically begging Michael Lippitz, the new AD, to fire you at this point. You're just begging him to do it.
Where do you come from?
I can't remember. Oh, crud. Yeah, I know we had, I think, NC State. I think he came from.
Yeah, they'll find a new coach out of the NC State coaching tree.
Yeah, probably, more than likely. But yeah, that's been kind of a disaster for them. And I mean, we've all been talking about kind of where, as we're moving, we're most of these teams are about 7-8 games in now. So, in terms of kind of, where everybody is situated, and now I know we've talked exclusively about kind of how we established 3 through 8 was kind of a question mark, and we established fully that IUPUI was at 9 and Cleveland State was at 10. Man, I don't know. I don't think that's true anymore.
What got into them this week?
All right, so I'm glad you brought that up, because I can't. Right now, no, absolutely not. That's insane. That is absolutely, it blows me away that that's the case. And I am absolutely, I know we talked about it last week, where they are basically, their game plan is a game of attrition. They're gonna hit you with 10, 11 guys. They're gonna press you 3/4 court, full court, whatever they need to do, and they're just going to harass the crap out of you for 40 minutes. And it might not. It definitely didn't work at the beginning of the season because those the 4 games they lost were, by 20 plus points. That Florida International game, I'm going to keep having nightmares about. But man, the last 3 games, they have come through with probably the best defense I have seen since the Gary Waters era. No joke.
It's nice to hear teams talking about defense. That's not something we've had in the Horizon League a whole lot lately.
Yeah, I know we talked about this last week, and it just keeps happening because in case of Robert Morris, you're talking about this game. Cleveland State in the first half, they were down by 8 points. Dennis Gates, flips the switch, says, "All right, time to turn on the defense." Turns on the defense, turns that into they end up coming up with the lead coming up with a 7-point lead, and unfortunately they gave it up and tied it at the half. But man, they have definitely. I am actually very impressed with the way It's funny because we talk about kind of the dynamic in some of these teams where you see kind of a real disconnect between what the coach wants to do and what's actually going on in the court. Cleveland State's got it together. And to say, and I'm saying this even in the face of last year, where you saw a massive disconnect between, Dennis Gates and you saw a massive disconnect between Dennis Gates and not Dennis Gates, Dennis Felton in the team. Yeah, I'm getting my Dennis's. Sorry, Dennis Gates. I'm sorry, I'm getting my Dennis's confused because this is and Dennis Felton never played any defense. We were assuming he was going to teach everybody defense this year. Well, they learned defense.
They're beating people, like you said, with defense and on the inside. They're not shooting. This team can't shoot at all. They want.
Although I will point out, they will absolutely go in scoring droughts. This is a Cleveland State team that will go a full 5 minutes without scoring anything this year. They will do it every game. But the fact that they were able to, but because of the defense, they're able to minimize that. So instead of having a team against them while they can't score for 5 minutes, hit basket after basket, they can clamp down on the defense, kind of minimize the damage, and then get back into their own game. And it's funny because we talked about their poor shooting this year because it has been not great in many instances over the last year, over the course of this season. But the game against Robert Morris, they shot 55%, which is probably the best they shot all season. Don't ask them to shoot any 3-pointers though. They only hit one last game. This is not a 3-point shooting team. And which leads me to wonder if they got a prolific 3-point shooter like the Cleveland State has had for many, many years, I'm pleasantly surprised. Believe me, I'm gushing at this point. I'm stopping short of gushing, but I am gushing.
I can't even take the wind out of your sail on this one. They had a good week. It's obvious that Gates is getting somewhere with these players. He started Sanchez, and he only played 5 minutes, which tells me that he didn't like what he was seeing, and he rotated people out. And, all of a sudden you've got who is it? Bodian off the bench playing 35 minutes. Craig Baudouin. Oh my God, yeah. He got 35 minutes off the bench, and you got a starter only get 5 minutes. That tells you Gates knows what he's looking for, and he has expectations. He's playing his kids.
And Baudouin and Trago Million, both of those guys have definitely stepped their game up. Because those are the two, and it seems like those are the two guys that Dennis Gates wants to lean on. Because these guys are definitely, if you've seen their game, these guys are slashers. They will definitely take it to the hole. They are not afraid of anything at this point, which is exactly. And on the defensive side, these guys definitely hold it down. And I guess that's kind of and it's interesting. And and it's I guess this is the kind of the benefit of kind of all the experimentation that Gates has had to do over the start of the season, because he has so many of these backcourt guys he has to figure out what to do with and has to play, because he has no depth on the front end, because he still only has three real forwards. He only has Dalen Williams. He only has Spider Johnson. He only has Al Eichelberger. And incidentally, and previously he didn't have Al Eichelberger for the start of the season either, and you could see what difference it makes on the floor when Al Eichelberger's on the floor now. So now that you kind of shored that up with Al Eichelberger, who just killed it, who also killed it on against Robert Morris, then you don't have to worry. So it's one of those things. Yeah, it's amazing how this has all kind of come together, because I'm just totally blown away. I was just hoping that everything was going to be just not be. It was going to be kind of, we weren't at the beginning of the season. We all basically all Cleveland State fans objectively agreed that we weren't really looking at the wins and losses. We were looking how this game was going to kind of improve, and seems like they've moved up their learning curve there quite considerably.
I mean, we got to be careful. You guys don't get too excited about the Robert Morris win alone, because even UIC beat Robert Morris this year.
That's true. Very true.
But it's a good win, and they put together a good week, and that's the most important thing, I think, for them.
Yeah, and then and I think the best part, and I guess the best part of this is the fact that you have. I think the best thing for Cleveland State fans as a whole is that you now aren't looking at the rest of this season. You're looking at the rest of the season and not looking at it with complete dread. Like I said, I'm not gonna lie. Toledo is probably not going to be a good game for them because of their depth in the front court. I'm also furthermore not looking forward to the Kent State game afterward. Yeah, the Cleveland State's got a 3-game stretch where they got all MAC teams. So I'm not looking. Yeah, so I'm not looking forward to those games. But the rest of the and then oh my god. So Cleveland State has 3 MAC teams, and then they get DePaul, who apparently forgot they were DePaul, and is undefeated right now.
They've been building. You never know.
Yeah, it's funny because when Dave Leitow got his contract extension, I saw that and I just laughed because I was like, I don't know if you noticed, but I have a very low opinion of DePaul basketball at this point, and I've also been of the opinion the only reason that they're in the Big East is because of the Chicago market, kind of like Rutgers and Maryland in the Big Ten. But yeah, this season they are definitely killing it, and they're coming into Cleveland too, and we'll actually see DePaul against UIC first on the 14th before we see them come into the Wolstein Center on the 18th.
I think what I enjoy about non-conference is you start to see some of these teams showing up on multiple conference teams, and you can kind of get a measuring stick. We can use Toledo as a measuring stick. I watched the Oakland-Toledo game last night. Toledo's a really good team. I don't know why, but we can never seem to beat them. But so we're going to be able to use Toledo versus a couple of Horizon schools. You're going to be able to use DePaul. You're going to be able to use some of these different teams as a measuring stick.
Exactly.
Which is, we're trying to figure out who's who.
Yeah, exactly. And you like because you see, and I know we've had this conversation about, why don't we have a Horizon League MAC challenge? And I'm like, it's already happening. I mean, seriously, with every Horizon League schedule, you see at the very least 2 or 3 MAC schools on each and every one of these Horizon League schedules. So it's not like you're not really, you're already seeing all these teams. I mean, like for example, and you mentioned kind of the overlap. This Tuesday, Northern Kentucky plays Miami. We're going to see what the Norths have for them. Detroit Mercy plays Kent State. And then subsequently, we saw what Kent State did to Youngstown State. Might not be a basis of comparison with Detroit Mercy considering what's going on with them right now, but you're absolutely right. You kind of see, you'll see bases for comparison essentially. Wednesday, Robert Morris is in Youngstown to play Youngstown State. Cleveland State beat him, UIC beat him. What does Youngstown State do? Good question.
People try to use the transitive property of sports. So if IUPUI loses to Evansville by 10 or 11, but we beat them by 10 or 11, does that mean we can beat Kentucky?
Good
Is
question.
that how that works?
I know people have been using that transitive property for many, many years, so sure, let's go with that.
All right, there's the benchmark. That's how we beat Kentucky this year.
So we use the transitive property to beat. Yeah, that's right. We could do that. Let's go ahead and do that this year because it seems like it's probably high time to do that. But yeah, but I actually before we get going, I did want to also talk about I also wanted to talk about I did want to talk about the Northern Kentucky Arkansas game. That was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, especially again without Jalen Tate in the lineup. That game was a one possession game until the final seconds. Seconds. So and what's happened? So as I understand it, apparently the issue that I guess as I understand it with Norse fans, they're having a bit of an issue here because apparently the person who hit so apparently there's kind of a discussion now about the minutes from the bench. And again, if Jalen Tate's healthy, I'm not sure we're even having this conversation. But I know the person who attempted the last shot was Adam Alita, who was 0 for 4 against Arkansas. I think that the argument is now, why are we giving this guy minutes when we could be giving Bryant Maccabee minutes? Because Maccabee only got 8 minutes, and the game before, he's the one who kept them in the game against Texas Southern with his shooting. But again, kind of the takeaway for them is, again, Dantez Walton, putting up 30 points, putting up 10 rebounds. I really think you get Jalen Tate back into the rotation. I'm not sure I want to play Northern Kentucky this year.
Northern Kentucky is doing their best to make me look stupid, which is not that hard. But I'm still standing by it. I don't see why this team is as good as they are, but they continue to win and play well. So I'm not going to take that away from them. So
yeah, absolutely.
They were right there with Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas is a Power 5 team. They're not great, but that still would have been a good victory for them. Arkansas is undefeated, but I don't know who they've really played, unless I'm wrong. Am I wrong on that? But
I couldn't tell you. No idea.
No, I'm looking right now. They haven't done much. I mean, Georgia Tech they beat Georgia Tech in overtime. Maybe that's something. Nothing crazy in there. I mean, they've beaten up on a lot of lower teams, which is fine. They destroyed Texas Southern, things like that. Yeah. But it still would have been a good win. I wish they'd have gotten it again for the league. I'm a big for the league person at this time of year. The league's still not getting big wins when they need them, and
that's true. That's problematic. That is really problematic. That's the case, because you have a situation where you need a signature win, and again, the one needs, where is it coming from? Is it gonna be Wright State against Western Kentucky? I don't know. I mean, and that's the only one I can think of that's like a win. I would consider a winnable game at this point.
It's gonna be Oakland over Michigan State.
It's gonna be Oakland. Yeah, there you go.
I got this.
All right, good for you. I'm holding it. I'll let you handle that one then. Because I don't think there's, other than the Michigan State game, I mean, I'm not sure if I don't see the, not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday, Detroit Mercy going into South Bend to play Notre Dame. I don't see that being, that seems to be a foreboding one. Milwaukee's going into Kansas. I don't know about that one.
That'll be ugly. Anytime you see Kansas, it's ugly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, DePaul, I guess we do have to consider them we have to consider them a Power 5 team now. I don't see UIC or Cleveland State coming at them, but man, it's gonna be Matt, you got Oakland can go into the Carrier Dome and beat Syracuse.
We go into the Carrier Dome, I feel like every year.
We wouldn't say no to that.
We always go in there, and it doesn't go well for us. They play the zone, and we don't know what to do with it, and we look like we've never played basketball. We do this every other year. It's never fun.
I can't relate, man.
It's never fun.
I can't relate. Last time my team went into the Carrier Dome, I still have memories of that with Cedric Jackson and his last minute heave to win the game and beat the previously undefeated Orange, and I'm never going to ever be sad about that.
Nope, yeah, I hear you, but it just doesn't go well for Oakland. I mean, we were just saying for the league, until somebody starts winning more games.
Yeah.
You mentioned why don't we do a Horizon League MAC challenge? What purpose would that be for the MAC? They're a way better conference than us right now.
That's exactly.
We don't want to hear it, but we should be matched up with the Summit League. That's who we are right now. We're the Summit League, more on the Midwest East side of things. Like, that's who we are, and until something changes, we have to accept that. And the MAC would have no benefit to scheduling a MAC challenge with us.
Even though every MAC team and again, it's redundant too, because every MAC team schedules at least 2 or 3 Horizon League teams anyway. So
sure.
I mean, what's the point? I mean, it's not like it's the Valley where you only get maybe 1 or 2 Valley teams actually playing Horizon League teams. I mean, name the last time Loyola played UIC.
Probably in conference somewhere for Horizon.
At this point. I mean, seriously. It wouldn't benefit Loyola, no way.
Nope.
So, anyway.
Gotta win games.
There you go. So, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and close out the show because I'm still recovering from my turkey hangover from Thanksgiving. That was fun. So anyway, that's it. And as always, you can find episodes of the Horizon Roundtable at horizonroundtable.com, or you can go on any pod. And thank you for listening.